Welcome to the fall school-based training for the Universal Screener. Kathy Wood and Megan Counts, as your school test coordinators, hope that you find this training format to be useful and flexible as we begin to administer the Universal Screener for the fall. Please take a moment to review the outcomes for today's training. The purpose of any universal screener is to provide a common assessment for all students in Tier 1 to help measure their basic proficiency in reading and math. When the universal screener indicates that a student is struggling in one of those areas, we use further diagnostic instruments to determine whether or not that student requires Tier 2 or Tier 3 support. The Universal Screener is administered to all students to help assess foundational skills. For some students, it indicates that they are at risk for difficulties in areas of reading and math. When that occurs, we use a diagnostic assessment to follow up after the screening to determine whether or not the student really is at risk and needs support in that area, or whether or not the student is doing okay. In Fairfax County, the Universal Screener has a brand name of iReady. iReady and Universal Screener can be interchangeable when talking about the Universal Screener in Fairfax County. It is notable, though, that when you log into iReady, the screening assessment is called a diagnostic. This can be confusing because Fairfax County uses iReady as a universal screener and not as a diagnostic to target skills. The iReady Universal Screener can be compared to a vision screening that we might do for students in the clinic. If a student struggles to read the letters on the poster, we recommend that the parent take them to an eye doctor or a specialist for further diagnosis. In the same way, iReady Universal Screener helps to identify students who we may need to get more information on. The dates for the kindergarten Universal Screener window are shown in this table. Please note that in the fall, the window for kindergarten opens later than it does for grades 1 through 6. This is also true in the winter and spring when compared to grades 3 through 6. Please note that there is overlap with all of the grades, particularly with grades 3 through 6, as not only do they have to complete the Universal Screener, but they will also need to complete the Horizon Assessment and the SOL. The dates for the grades 1 and 2 Universal Screener assessment window are shown in this table. It is important to note that once a student begins the assessment, they have to complete the assessment in 21 calendar days, or their attempt will be deleted and they will need to start over. A copy of the Laurel Ridge testing calendar was included in the beginning of the year checklist and is also included as a resource from this training. When thinking about which students will take the Universal Screening Assessment, we will use the county's participation charts. In kindergarten, all students will take the reading assessment in the fall, winter, and spring. Kindergartners will not take the math assessment. In grades 1 and 2, all students will take the math and the reading in the fall, winter, and spring windows. Deferrals are available for some English language learning students. In order to determine whether a student requires a deferral, we'll use the participation considerations that are attached to this training, and a conversation will need to take place with the ESOL teacher and the school testing coordinators. The reading assessment for kindergarten and grades 1 and 2 provides 72 items that students will be exposed to answer to complete the diagnostic. In mathematics, for grades 1 and 2, students will see 66 items. In mathematics, students will see items across 4 domains listed in this table. It is possible that students will see items for content that they have not been taught at school. In reading, students will see items across 5 domains. This is different from years past, where second graders did not see all of the domains. This year they will see all 5 domains, including phonics and phonological awareness. Because the county has determined that all students should see all 5 domains when taking the reading assessment, this means that all students must have their developmental level set at 1 prior to taking the universal screener. For students who are enrolled in school prior to the first day of school, their developmental level is already set and teachers won't need to do anything manually. For students who were new and enrolled after the first day of school, August 26th, teachers will need to manually set the developmental level at 1. On the resource website, you can find step-by-step directions to reset the level. It is recommended that kindergarten teachers plan for their classes to take the universal screener in small groups with IA support for logging in and monitoring progress. For grades 1 and 2, it is recommended that teachers schedule whole class sessions in the computer lab or with a computer cart and break up each subject area over 2 days, with each section being 30 to 45 minutes. It's also important to remember that once a student has begun the assessment, they must complete it within 21 calendar days or their attempt will be deleted and they'll need to restart the assessment. Before testing begins, particularly for younger students, teachers can set the stage to help students understand what to expect from the universal screener. There are some online tutorials that can help particularly kindergarten students prepare. The county's iReady Google site, which is linked in your training materials, has an area of student preparation where you can find everything you need to help prepare students for taking iReady. There is a slide deck to show students what the platform looks like, some sample diagnostic items, and then the kindergarten digital readiness skills. Though the universal screener is individualized for each student, that as they take it, it matches their level of competency, we want to monitor students as they're taking the assessment to make sure that they're not rushing and going too quickly through the assessment, and also that they're not moving too slowly through the assessment. You may prompt students if they're moving too quickly to slow down, and if they're moving too slowly to choose an answer and move on. The iReady platform for grades K through 2 looks similar to how it has in the past. When students log in, they will see a cartoon character and they'll be able to choose the subject for which they're taking the assessment. Remember, kindergarten only takes reading and will never take the math. Because not all of your students will complete the assessment during your initial class session, you will want to monitor student progress and track completion throughout the window. Remember that when students begin the assessment, they have 21 calendar days to complete it. In addition, grades K through 3 have further diagnostic criteria to complete for students who score at or below the 39th percentile. The required diagnostic for students in grades 1 through 3 who score at or below the 39th percentile and are new to Virginia is the DRA. So if a student is new to Virginia, newly enrolled in Virginia Public Schools, and scores at or below the 39th, the teacher will administer the DRA2 assessment. For kindergarten students, those who score at or below the 39th percentile on the reading iReady test, you will administer DRA2 Word Analysis Task 7. The iReady dashboard for teachers has a number of features to help analyze the data and to provide instructional resources. Kathy and Megan will be working with teams to look at the data and determine the next best steps. Teachers are encouraged to explore the dashboard to find what might be useful for them. These are the steps to reset a diagnostic assessment for a student if perhaps they work too quickly or too slowly and they need a reset. As students are progressing through the assessment during the testing window, as a teacher, you'll want to monitor their progress to ensure that everybody finishes by the end of the window. This slide shows directions for getting to the screen that shows you the status of all the students. The teacher dashboard shows students who are working on the assessment and those who potentially have rushed with the red rush flag. That would be a discussion for the teacher to have with Kathy or Megan to determine whether or not to reset the assessment for the student to make another attempt. These are links to additional county resources to support the administration of the Universal Screener. You will find step-by-step tip sheets, handbooks, and all kinds of information about the Universal Screener at these locations. In addition, the Office of Student Testing provides a wealth of information for each assessment that we give in the county and specifically for the Universal Screener.